Last time on the Incorrigible party.
In need of refuge, Shakara pushes on beneath the streets of Drakal, finding familiar tunnels and some familiar faces. Meanwhile, Falzard and Mia escape the magma flow in the Neogi tunnels, sending Shakara a message of warning, urging her and Shaft to flee the doomed city and to finally regroup outside of Zexa.
Now let's get back to the adventure.
We must get out of the city. But I cannot keep up. I can get us out. And I will start to change and turn blue and elongate and turn into the serpent and get very big. And then I will bend down and allow Grimby and Hulsa to climb on.
You are not in possession of either eye currently. So yes, and very much like the kind of vision you had, right? The sneak peek at what you can become. Yeah, you start to grow long and you become like a gargantuan size. So again, on a battle map, you would take up like a 20 by 20 foot area. But you're like longer than 20 feet, right? Like you're this kind of winding, real like thick serpentine body with the dragon's head, right? And just kind of shimmering blue scales right down in your whole length. And Grimby and Hulsa like are clearly obviously taken aback at your form. Shakara, what be this?
It is a new ability given to me. I can get us out of here quickly. Climb on.
If you say so. And Hulsa is kind of tentative herself, right? But you know, they both trust you, and they will. So Hulsa will like kind of basically be right behind your head, and Grimby will attempt to be kind of further down on your form to still keep Hulsa at least out of the radius of the eye. So in this form, so you can, I don't believe we haven't talked about any kind of your stats on Mike, but we don't need to go through everything until they come up, but you can change into this form a number of times equal to your proficiency modifier per long rest, and you can remain in this form indefinitely once you've changed. It takes a conscious effort from you to revert to and from this form. So even if you were reduced to 0 hit points, unlike a polymorphed form, like you'll remain in this form until, like I said, until you purposefully change out of it. Now, the change incurs a level of exhaustion. So you now have 3 levels of exhaustion, just immediate from changing.
Yay.
Every 8 hours you remain in this form, you incur 1 level of exhaustion. But you do have some immunities in this form. You're immune to necrotic damage and the effects of the exhaustion conditions, which doesn't mean you negate gaining exhaustion. Obviously, it's just while transformed, you could have 6 levels of exhaustion. You could have a deadly level number of exhaustions, and you would not be dead in this form because you're immune to the effects of the exhaustion levels. Obviously, if you were to reach that many, once you reverted, you would be dead.
And that's dead, right? That's not...
That's outright dead, yeah. 6 level exhaustion is
no reviving.
Outright death, yeah. Barring any revival magics, there's no... Like, yeah, you could still be subject to... Like, I don't see why a Revivify wouldn't bring you back. But the problem is you'd still have 6 levels of exhaustion. I guess that is kind of more like a permadeath, isn't it? Because how do you get rid of that without...
Yeah, you'd have to take a long rest while dead.
Yeah, and as you can probably infer by the way the time frame in which you gain levels of exhaustion, even if you transformed with no levels, you'd have 1 from the transformation. And if you were to long rest in this form, an 8-hour long rest to get rid of a level, but you would still gain another level, so they kind of balances out, right? So that's kind of how it works. And you also have a movement speed of 50 feet and a fly speed of 50 feet. So when You come into contact again with the eye. You will need to make a Constitution saving throw for being affected by its radius, because you were out of it before.
Since Grimsy's on my back and he's holding it.
Right.
That is a 17.
A 17 is a fail.
Yes.
Because it is DC 18. So that then, what does that put you at now? 4 levels of exhaustion?
With the change, yes, that is now 4. My hit point maximum is halved.
Oh no. So now, okay, well, yes. And again, once you reverted, assuming you take no more levels, your hit points are reduced by half. You now have disadvantage on attacks, saving throws, and ability checks, and your movement is halved now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Kara.
Yeah, this is...
That's not good.
I might not make it to the Izzy fight.
Oh no.
But we're going to get out at your call, damn it, no matter what.
Okay. And like you've already seen kind of the panic start to set in the streets right as they're beginning to fill up with more people. I mean, predominantly here where you are, it's like the partiers, right, that have moved in to the district and now have flooded back in. So it's less of like people being awoken and from sleeping from the booms of the volcanic eruptions and the raining debris from the explosions, which again has stopped, but now kind of like replacing the debris is now like bits of ash just floating down, just starting to blanket the city. But you now have Grimby and Halsa aboard the Dendara train.
Woo woo.
And in this form, you retain all of your mental stats. Obviously your strength, dex, and con have changed a little bit. You retain all of your proficiencies, and you can speak and understand every language that you could in your normal form.
I will take off into the air and try and fly up high enough over the wall and try and get out of the city in a direct shot towards the caves as I can. Unless that would take me farther away from the mountain, right? That's not like putting me in path of the mountain.
No, so you would be flying in a southeasterly direction, and because you can fly, you can kind of go as the crow flies.
As the serpent flies.
As the serpent mother flies. You don't even need to make it to the east gate and then walk, right? You could just go, like you say, up and out. And like those people in the street, as your form kind of slinks and glides out of the alley, up and out into the air, there's, you hear like gasps, and people are clearly taken aback at seeing this form in addition to everything else that's going on. And I mean, you can move at a quickened pace if you want this flying speed. Like that's going to be incredibly fast for you.
Yeah, so essentially dashing, right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of going to be more of like an overland travel pace, right? So you're going to take the penalty to passive perception as you're traveling at this fast pace. But already, like, you're almost already flying twice as fast as you would be at a normal pace without that penalty. So that's, again, going to be up to you whether or not that's what you want to do.
Yes, I want to get out of the city as fast as possible.
Out of the city is, really quick to fly out. I mean, you're out in under an hour before you hit the city's walls, outer walls. And as you are flying, right, you're seeing the airships now. Still, they got like the lighthouse revolving, huge lamps on their decks, but they're starting to transport people out of the city, and you can see them flying towards what the spot where the Paladin Tower is set up. It seems to be that's like this point in which they're evacuating people. As that tower is, it is east of the mountains and still east of the city, but it's still pretty close to the base of the range. But it certainly would be out of the path by the looks of it anyways, especially now. I don't know how high you want to actually fly up, but if you want to go, a few hundred feet into the air, you're going to get this really good view of actually what's kind of going on in the range too, right? Much better than what you had at ground level in the city. Yeah,
I will go up high just so I could see the mountain and see if I can tell what's going on over there.
And you just, you can see the rivers of lava kind of flowing out of the tops of each of the 3 peaks is going to be the main source. And it does, again, it looks like it moving very quickly. and the city of Drakal is like directly in its path as it's moving southward inland. But you see, like, even around kind of the eastern side, it's this huge red-orange glow now. The light that the flow is casting, right, is just kind of illuminating everything around the base of the mountains. And you can see, like, sparse collections of people moving from where you knew where the new front line was. Like, it's clear that there's people marching down from that little, one of the smaller peaks, again towards, like, where they had the tower was, and where the old front line was. And amongst the torchlight of the activity, you see a pulsing blue. You're a number of miles away, so it is kind of this smallish, like almost like a little bigger than a pinprick of light, but it is pulsing in time with the eye in the bag that Grimby currently holds. So that's the kind of the activity that you're seeing. Obviously, like, it doesn't look like, it looks kind of frantic, and it's not organized clearly. Like, there's just, it's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a gash kind of thing.
Well, the lava may take care of our cultist problem.
So the plan is you just want a straight shot. I mean, you have like about 8 hours of travel in this form before you would have to take another level of exhaustion.
With 7 more checks for being close to the eyes.
For both you and Grimby, yes.
So we've flown for an hour and we're just outside the city.
A little under. So you're approaching another check in the proximity of the eye.
I think we'll go for 1 more hour and see what happens. And that will decide what I do next. The next check will decide what happens. Because if I fail again...
All right, then both you and Grimby can make another save here. Ooh, Grimby gets the 18 that he needs.
I got an 18.
Wow, okay.
Just. Okay, so we are now 2 hours out, and it's another 6 to the cave.
I would say, yeah, at your quick fly speed, you could get there in like under 10 hours.
I think we'll, so now that we're basically, quote unquote, out of danger, we'll slow down a little bit so I can just look around and see if I see Shaft or Mia or Falsey, and I would think at this point it'd probably be unlikely, but just see if I notice anything on the ground from where we are.
Give me a perception.
8.
So I assume as you're trying to spot from the kind of this elevated position, you're going to come down a little lower than where you were, right, as you were trying to figure out what's going on in the mountains. And yeah, beneath you now, you're like soaring over like kind of that arid landscape, more kind of desert-like, to very little to zero vegetation in this area. And that stretches on for about like 20 to 30 miles before you would hit kind of the hilly terrain that surrounds Zexa. So immediately kind of around you, and even with your extended dark vision, you don't see signs of really anybody. Definitely not Mia or Falzarin or Shaft. I would say also, like, from you knew that Shaft was at least going to Kepley's, which is farther into the city than you were, right? Even at the Pussycat Palace. Like, it's pretty clear.
He's behind me.
Right.
Somewhere.
You have the head start. Like, you're ahead, right?
And probably ahead of Mia and Falsey, as far as I'm aware, because I saw the people coming down from the new front line, so I would assume they're probably back there somewhere. So I think we'll push on another hour. So
kind of at your quickened pace on your flight, like you're moving like 6 miles an hour, basically. That's you're covering a lot of like really quick terrain here in your form. Oh, Grimby easy gets a 24.
Oh, I rolled a 20.
Oh.
I got a 26.
All right. Okay.
This is like Russian roulette.
Right? Like, goodness, Shakar. Oh, my good. Emily, come on.
I think I'll look around, make sure I don't see anything. I'll come down lower, look around, see if there's any creatures, anything that could be considered an enemy, whether or not it's safe, and I'll try and land.
Okay. Give me another perception.
18.
you've been flying enough where that terrain is now starting to transition into the hills, right? Which is more kind of, even just what you're walking on is more turning into like grass and kind of like field type of terrain rather than like hard packed and dry dirt of kind of the more arid landscape. I mean, immediately around you there's no sign of any other creatures. It doesn't seem like there are even any real tracks. There's definitely like no animal tracks around you, you know, in your kind of near vicinity that you've kind of landed around. So it seems like you're alone. I mean, the three of you are out here by yourselves.
Okay, I'll take us down and let them get off. So I'll like get low to the ground so they can get off and revert back to Shakara.
As you start to shrink rapidly, it is something to witness, right? But Grimby and Hals's eyes kind of wide as you. I would say it looks incredibly unnatural as you just shrink and then compact, and like from this kind of squat and squished serpent body, your limbs start to poke out right suddenly as you take your normal form, your hexblood form. Once you're reverted, the exhaustion just racks your entire body from the effects that you've suffered from the change and now the exposure to the eyes. Just everything hits you all at once like a freight train.
I will attempt to stand up and go down to a knee. We're safe. Halsa, help me.
And Halsa's right by your side as she, puts one of your arms around her shoulder and gets you to your feet.
We have some distance to cover still. Gesture to Halsa to let me sit down, and I'll start to cast Find Steed to call Buttercup.
10 minutes later, Buttercup appears.
I need rest. What time of day is it?
Like you're now, it's like 3, nearing 4 in the morning now. Pretty close to daybreak.
And what is around us?
So immediately you're basically at the beginning of the foothills essentially. And now I'd say you could guesstimate you have another like 12 to 15 miles of walking to get to the caves.
Can I sleep on Buttercup?
I'm gonna say no.
Like even if I'm slung over top of her, like sideways?
It's not gonna be very restful. Okay, here's the thing. I'll let you, if you want to attempt to put together some type of sled in which a person could lie on and be dragged behind Buttercup, you and like collectively Grimby and Halsa can try to take the time and like forage for the materials that you might need. You can take extra time to do that if you want.
We must keep moving, but I am in no condition. Buttercup could pull me if we could create some kind of sled.
That sounds like a good idea, but I can give it a go.
I think it's worth it.
Well, I guess let's see what's in this bag here, huh? And Grim's going to look for rope is what he's going to start, right? So he's able to pull out a length of rope from Shaft's bag of holding. He kind of regards it for a second, and you see him like start to make a series of knots right along the length of this rope. And he's sitting there for about 20 minutes or so, doing some like these sailor's knots right along this rope. And then eventually he kind of takes one end about 20 feet of this 50-foot length, and he starts to kind of weave it in back and forth between these knots that he's kind of put a loop on the end, and he makes like this almost like a net. It's about as close a thing as he can get to. Now, is there something that maybe you want to like search for as you've seen what he's essentially making, like I said, like a net, but it's going to be as flimsy as a net, as malleable as a net would be. So is there something that maybe you want to look for or attempt to help him in what he's doing? Like you've seen what now he's doing at least.
I don't know, can I like hack some of the twigs off of one of the bushes and like just to give the net a little more structure?
All right, give me a survival check at disadvantage.
Yeah, that is a 15.
Pretty good with disadvantage. Okay, yeah. You're able to essentially just like tear apart an entire bush, right? Like right from its stem in the ground where it's thickest, almost like you're just ripping it right out of the ground. As Halsa can help you like pick off, leaves and like basically de-leaf some of the most sturdy sections of it. And, you can like split down the middle of the thickest stem where it would hit the ground to bisect it, come away with like one flat edge where you've cut it in half, and then, the rounded of the stem itself, like these kind of semicircular like lengths of almost like skis, right? As you bring them over to Grimby, and he'll try to incorporate it into the either, both left and right edges of this net that he's put together. And you see that, he's able to kind of pull it taut between these two lengths. It definitely adds some stability to it. So it looks like it's about as good as you think it's going to get.
We can give this a try. And if it is not good enough, we can think of something else later. Hang the bag on Buttercup. She can carry the eyes for a while.
If you say so, Shikara. Yeah, Grimby kind of has to walk into the light again, pick up the bag. Well, put it on Buttercup. So both Buttercup and Grimby will have to make another Constitution saving throw. Grimby gets a 24.
Oh, Buttercup has a +1 to con for a total of 4.
Okay. So, yeah, this poor Buttercup, you can hear Buttercup, soft neighs as she's exposed to this light. But Grimby will latch the bag onto Buttercup's saddle, and he and Halsa, step back from the horse. And, the structure will get also attached to Buttercup, and you can lay down in it if you want.
I am sorry, Buttercup, but I need you to carry this load. And me. For us for a while. And then I will go lay down on it and try and get comfortable as much as I can.
And, like, in addition, like, you can lay, find another bush and put, like, boughs with actual leaves still on them, right? As kind of this bedding. So it's not like you, through the gaps in the rope, dragging on the ground, right? So you can kind of make yourself comfortable. And what, at the bottom of the netting, you can kind of like loop your boots into almost like stirrups at the bottom, right? One of the loops of the rope, right? To kind of keep you in the structure itself. Halsa and Grimby will just be walking kind of behind, a little bit behind you, off to the right of you. Again, keeping out of the aura and subjecting now only Buttercup to it. So you want to attempt to go to sleep?
Yep, this is so ridiculous. Yes, I am going to attempt to take a nap. A very nice long nap.
Okay, so you want a long rest. So I will say, so you're the 12 miles. Like you would get, assuming at a normal pace, you're moving like 3 miles an hour. So it's going to take you less than a long rest's worth to get to the cave.
I would think Buttercup would be moving a little bit slower, just as to not like jostle me as much as possible.
Yeah, so I'll give you the normal pace because you're still traveling with Grimby and Halsa at their pace, right? So you can take the normal pace for now, assuming Buttercup passes her next save, because that will reduce her walking speed as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Try and go as far as we can go, and try and sleep on the way there. It's like when you fall asleep in the car.
Okay, Buttercup, give me a Constitution saving throw.
17?
Unfortunately, not
Nope.
enough.
Nope.
Like an hour passes, and you are able to drift off to sleep, right? And with Grimby and Halsa kind of trudging behind. But suddenly, like you're awoken by like a kind of a jolting as like Buttercup almost comes to like a stop suddenly as she's affected by the light, right? And then she begins to move forward again at half speed. So now you're no longer traveling at a normal pace.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you're no better off if you were now just walking on your own, other than you being able to remain rested. So. What do you think? Grimby almost like instinctively moves towards Buttercup, right? And then as Buttercup lurches, but then kind of holds off to stay himself out of the light.
This is what we must do for now. She will be fine. It'll be all okay. And I will go back to sleep.
Another hour, and Buttercup, let's go.
Oh my goodness. She's going to walk herself to death, isn't she? 20.
Okay, all right. So obviously at a much reduced speed now, and I was gonna, the reduction in speed again, assuming you can keep up now, like moving at half pace, you're now only doing like 1.5 miles an hour. So that's gonna kind of change the formula of whether you're gonna get in a long rest before you hit the caves. Again, assuming Buttercup is okay. So it's just gonna we're just gonna have a series of Constitution saving throws here. So let's go. Let's do another hour. Give me another one.
17 again.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's now
geez.
three for Buttercup.
So I assume she jolts again with this next fail.
You're not enough to wake you up. I mean, because again, for Buttercup, now Buttercup's saving throws and attacks are at disadvantage. So now her Constitution saving throws against the effects of the eye are going to be a disadvantage. So okay, I mean, if you're continuing to move forward, let's do another one.
If it wasn't enough to wake me up, then yeah, we're gonna keep going with disadvantage.
Disadvantage.
And a +1 on con.
Oh no.
Oh wow, 7.
Oh, Buttercup. And now again, Buttercup's hit points, I think she only has 17 or something, right, as a warhorse, are reduced to half. Which, again, kind of takes, similar to the reduction in movement, it takes like a physical toll, right? That's something that you could more easily quantify as being physical, rather than, disadvantage on saving throws. Well, what does that mean as far as, like, equating it to roleplay? But another lurch, and this time, this 4th hour now passes, and Buttercup, she's reduced to she falls, right? She falters, and reduced to like the knees of her front legs, and again you are now again woken up and jostled as you've come to a complete stop, and you wake up and you see Buttercup struggling as she gets back to her feet.
What do I see around us, like terrain wise?
Now you are full into the foothills here, as you've traveled another 6 or so miles with the reduced speed, and it's just similar landscape. There's certainly more like vegetation around you now. But other than that, again, it seems like you're alone. I don't know if you want to try to do a perception check around you to look for tracks or anything like that. That's going to be up to you.
I more want to look for a campsite. Just see if this would be a good place to stay for the rest of my long rest.
Sure. Give me that perception then.
12.
As far as you can tell, like I said, there's no like signs of real life around here. Minimal to no animal tracks. Doesn't look like there's any human tracks. This is like this. Clearly, you're obviously not on a road. You do know there is a road that runs like north-south between Zexa and Altenshek, but you're still a number of miles from that, probably like a dozen miles from that road from where you are. And that would even just be kind of northeast for you to get to it, or directly east from your position. So to you'd probably think this is as good a place as any.
How far are we from the cave?
You are now at your current pace. You're probably another 3 or 4 hours from the cave.
I think we should stop here a while. Let Buttercup rest. Granby, can you take the eyes off her and put them a distance away?
Aye, Shigar, I'll be grabbing him. He gets a 23, so he's okay from the effects, as he sets them like 30 feet away from the group.
How are you feeling?
Oh, I could be due for a bit of a rest myself, and Holsta's kind of nodding as well.
Then we shall stay here for a few hours. And I roll over and go right back to sleep.
Okay, and Grimby and Holsta will settle down to take a quick breather themselves. Obviously, I assume you're not going to stay here for the full 8. Do you want to just be here for like the rest of your long rest? Because you've got another 4 hours for your long rest.
Yeah, for the rest of my long rest.
So you do get the rest of your long rest, and Grimby and Holsta, I mean, they could technically, I suppose, get a short rest, but it's not going to do them any benefit, as they're they weren't in any type of combat. They clearly weren't wounded at all. So, I mean, they're going to get 4 hours of rest, but if it's interrupted for the rest of the travel to the cave, it's kind of not going to matter for them, unfortunately.
How are you feeling now? Can you continue?
How much further?
Several hours yet.
If we need to push it, there's Shikara. I can do it. And Hulsa, again, affirms.
If we were to... How sturdy is a bag of holding? Can we drag it behind Buttercup? Like, can we put it on the makeshift sled? But, like, if it needs to be even farther back so that I can ride Buttercup and have it still be 15 feet back?
Yeah, you can definitely try.
Let's, instead of one of us carrying the eyes, attach it to the sled and drag it behind us. And I can ride Buttercup.
Aye, that's a fine idea there, Shikara. Okay, you stand back and I'll be grabbing it. 22 again for Grimby. Ooh, he's rolling great.
Good job, Grimby.
And he will, kind of fashions the bag of holding on to the makeshift sled, which, like, as you get off of it, it's looking in disrepair, and that's being generous. Like, it's clearly being dragged, right? Almost being dragged apart. But the bag of holding itself on top of it, will not be dragged on the ground, right? Which could potentially cause a tear in it, which would potentially cause a tear into the astral plane, which would be bad.
Yeah, let's avoid that.
Now nobody's subjected to the eyes, and still at the half pace, not making it very, very far, but the next, 4-5 hours pass, and you make it to this Zexa cave that it's, you only know of its location because it has a portal, right? I don't think Shikara's ever actually been here, if I recall correctly. And as you approach, like, you see still like rubble remains outside of the entrance, which you can make out like bits, like a rock kind of like claw and sections of like gargoyle face, from the battle that happened out here forever ago now. The cave opening itself is kind of masked by some shrubbery, but you are able to walk in.
Okay, we will walk in. Does Buttercup fit in the cave?
But you can get Buttercup in there. Yeah, the cave's like a 10 by 10 opening or so.
Okay, so once inside the cave, we would not be able to avoid the eyes.
The room itself is large enough to be able to place the bag into a corner and still be away from it. Like, that won't be a problem.
Grimby, would you move the eyes away from us?
22 again. Grimby. Okay, so he's gonna put them in the leftmost corner, which is the portal itself. Right as you walk in, you see, the first thing that hits you is the stench of decaying flesh, as there are still body parts here that have, decayed, weeks of decay, and just like black clouds of flies that you stir as you trot. Buttercup trots in, and the insects that have feasted on these cadaver parts, are upset and scurry away at your presence. There's like overturned tables. The portal itself was barricaded by Gozer, right? So there's still tables and weapon racks pushed against the stone wall with this wood frame around it, right? And then the stone in between the sections of frame. So Grimby, like on the left, to the left of that would be the side where Grimby has placed the bag.
What has happened here?
Looks like a fight or something.
What a mess.
What do we do now?
Mia said she and Falzrin would meet us here. And I told Shaft as well. So, we wait? This is not a great place, though.
Well, Grimby kind of just like sighs even before your sentence is finished and just like collapses on the ground, closes his eyes. It'd be as fine a place as any. And then he kind of like almost immediately soft snores from Grimby.
Also, you rest I will watch.
And Hulsa will settle down next to Grimby. So she kind of like tilts a head onto Grimby's shoulder. And Buttercup as well, kind of, the horse kind of collapses again to the ground herself to try to rest. And like by now, the makeshift sled is just like splinters, like the rope's frayed and it's just like apart now in pieces.
I will go over to Buttercup and rub her face. You did well, my friend. I thank you. Can I make some kind of alert system so that if somebody comes to the entrance of the cave? I want to make a gozer trap.
Okay. In the room itself, there was a long burnt out fire pit in the middle. Still some tables that haven't been pushed against the portal, and there's an arrangement of like discarded weaponry.
How large is the opening to the cave?
10 feet wide. And so as you walk in, it kind of zigs, and then like you would like turn left and then back right around the corner. So it's not like if you're at the opening, it's not a straight shot for you looking in, right? You kind of, there's a bit of cover, and you have to creep, 20 feet in before you kind of really see into the main chamber.
How gross are the body parts?
The flesh has started to putrefy, and you see that they're gooey. There are, significant chunks missing from some of the limbs, and you can like see bone from where the predation from scavengers and insects, like they look disgusting.
Can I get enough pieces to mostly assemble 3 corpses?
I would say you could get. Give me a survival. Okay, give me a survival check here. Let's see how many pieces are there.
I rolled a 1. That's a 6.
A lot of them are just like almost indistinguishable. The amount of decay and again predation on even like some torsos, it's really difficult to actually make out what the parts are. Now there certainly are a number of hands lying around, some of which you can see like arrow wounds and weapon wounds in them, but like severed hands are like everywhere.
It just says choose a pile of bones or a corpse. So technically that would be kind of a pile of bones, so it wouldn't like make a really a humanoid looking thing, but just like an amalgamation of bonage.
Okay.
I want to animate dead, and I want to have, if I can only get one creature out of this pile, that's good enough.
Okay, I'm gonna say that you are able to, like, through your magic, like, you get two, like, they're like half zombie, half skeleton, like decayed, ribs poking out some of the torsos. None of them have hands. But it really, as they assemble, and the magic almost like knits and stitches putrefied flesh back together, and some of the coagulated liquid of like rendered fat and tissue and blood, seemingly sinewing these decayed body parts together. They stand up, and you get 2 of them. They look more just like flesh mounds than anything. I mean, even the huskies seem like they're in better shape than these things.
Not my best work, but you will do.
What do you want to do with them?
Point to one, I say, watch the entrance. Alert us if anyone approaches. And the other one, please clean out the rest of this mess. Drag it to the front. And then I will go join the cuddle puddle with Grimby and Hulsa.
Mia, you do receive a response from Shakara.
We will do our best to meet at the caves.
Falzarin, Shakara replied, they're gonna try to meet at the caves, I guess. So, let's go to the tower and warn them what's coming and just keep going.
Sure, I like that plan. I would like to put as much distance between us and this eruption as we can.
She said we, that's good, right? Maybe Shaft's with her?
One can hope.
Let's keep going.
So it seems that the paladins, like they're already on the move, basically vacating this new front line here on the side of this kind of minor peak. The generals, they're traveling with the remainder of Cultus's personal guard, with, of course, the comatose Samuel himself. And, his armor is still pulsing like a 15-foot radius of blue light. It seems like his guards they're staying around them, but clearly each have been equipped with a protective cube against the light, which is certainly benefiting them as they are escorting Samuel. The generals themselves are, about 20 feet back, staying out of its radius. But you can kind of see it just pulsing, moving down the mountain, kind of ahead of the two of you and Thuftamar. So, towards the tower then.
Yeah, I think going to the tower still makes sense to sort of, explain what's going on, help them with their planning if there's enough time, and sort of just ensuring as many people that can escape do.
As you are progressing with the very small number of paladins left, you can see in kind of the dark above the city, there's rotating bright lights, rotating like a lighthouse. And you see there actually are oversized bullseye lanterns that kind of funnel the light into kind of this searchlight-esque apparatus on the decks of the airships. They're moving, it looks like they're moving from the city limits to the tower, and you can you just watching these lights moving back and forth in kind of the dark above the city, as ashes started to fall from the eruptions. But in addition to them, a few miles further, probably by just loose judgment of the distance, but a very small source of blue light is visible again against the dark of the night, nearly being blocked out by the falling ash, which is starting to fall very heavily, like snowfall. But it too is pulsing in time, it seems, with the way Samuel's armor is pulsing. And that light itself is also a few hundred feet above the surface, up kind of in the same height of which the airships are funneling people back and forth.
And does it look like it's moving, or is it stationary?
It too looks like it is moving.
Falzarin, do you see that?
Oh, yes I do.
What in the world? Is that Shakara? Shakara! And I just call up to see if it's the eyes. I mean, obviously it's far away, but...
Is it east of us? So, as though it would be east of Drukal, coming toward Drukal or toward the mountains, or?
It is definitely, it's probably from where you are, southeast of you, and it does seem like it is moving in that direction.
It's moving away from us.
Correct.
Falzarin, get on the broom. Go see what that is.
Almar, would you like to come with?
I think I'd like to stay on the ground, Falzarin.
Come on, if you're scared to go alone, I'll go with you.
Falzarin kind of looks up and down Mia,
It's moving! Hurry!
her very heavy armor.
I've been on the broom with you before.
Well, you certainly can come with me, Mia. I don't mean to be rude, but it may slow me down a little bit.
Denny? I called for him to jump out of the bag or something.
Falzarin opens the bag of holding, reaches in, and tries to summon Denny.
And Denny appears as eager as ever to have a rider.
So Falzarin climbs aboard. All right, Mia, let's go.
Denny, follow that blue light, and I point in the direction it's going.
Okay, as a reminder, the two of you can certainly ride Denny, but that does mean Denny has a normal 30-foot fly speed. You don't benefit from the additional speed of the flying broom due to the heavily armored woman with the wizard.
We can still dash though, so
Yep.
So we would be able to travel faster than 30, but not as fast as Denny could travel. I suppose as long as it doesn't look like this light is traveling very quickly away from us, I'd be fine with this plan. But if I get the sense that we're losing ground on it, then maybe Falzarin would reevaluate.
So it does look like this, whatever this is, already has a pretty good head start on you. And you can progress as fast as Denny can go. I'm not sure if you want to, go X number of feet, a few hundred feet, to see if you are making ground on it before you turn back, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think Falzarin's Falzern would like to bring Mia along, so I think I would fly on Denny for a while to get a bit of a gauge for whether we're gaining on it or if it's putting distance between us despite our speed.
Why don't you, as you're traveling, make me a perception check?
Would taking off my armor help?
Never take your armor off.
It's a question worth asking.
So taking off your armor would take 5 minutes to doff your armor.
So let's say, like, we fly for 5 to 10 minutes. I put my armor in his bag of holding. Would we go faster?
I would say if you took your armor off, you would have the full benefit of Denny's speed, yes.
Okay, well, let's see what his perception is.
18.
So you are just, like, the two of you, I imagine, just bent over, like, urging Denny to move as quickly as Denny can with
I'm
with
like
the two
big
of you on.
spooning Falzern, let's be real.
Right.
Holding his waist.
Right, exactly. You got, like, the grasping your palms, Mia, like, around in front of Falzer and holding on tight, right?
Yeah.
You're moving, several hundred feet, which is putting you, moving southward to closer to the city, right? You get close to the walls of the city, and the airships themselves look like they're hovering like as low as they can to the streets, and you can see people climbing aboard, and they're just shuttling people back and forth as quickly as possible.
Do we get the idea that these searchlights are to find people and to get them aboard? Like a search and rescue type situation?
That does seem what is going on. It's clear they're not looking for anybody specific, but they just have them rotating as like this beacon for people to come towards them. And again, you do know that the generals sent off their own sending messages to the captains of both ships to initiate this evacuation, right? After you've got out of the Neogi cave and the eruption had occurred. So that's clearly taking place. And in addition to that, like, people are just funneling out of the gate, like the easternmost gate of Drukal, of which you're kind of flying over and past now. Like, people are just fleeing the city based on what's looming northward of it, right? But it does not appear that you are gaining any ground on this kind of blue dot as it just continues to, like, recede into the darkness. It's like getting smaller and smaller, becoming more and more of a pinpoint as it does appear it is moving further away from you.
Yeah, I don't feel like we're moving fast enough.
Okay, well then, you either go alone, like, you drop me off right here, go alone, chase it down, let me know what you find, or I'm taking this armor off so that we can move faster. Like, come on, that blue is unmistakably linked to the armor. Like, we need answers. Mia starts, like, unbuckling her chest plate.
I don't want to just drop you off in the middle of nowhere, Mia, I guess.
Okay, keep flying, and when I
All
need
right.
your help, put a hand out and pull. I start trying to take my armor off.
You can shove it into Falzy's bag of holding, which I think is fairly empty. I mean, there's some books in there, and that's not too much.
Yeah.
You get back on Denny, and now obviously that light has made significant ground of you standing still for like the 5-10 minutes, right? But utilizing Denny's full speed, it does seem that the kind of like pinpoint of light itself has lowered closer to the ground. Previously, it for a time it was a few hundred feet above the surface, right? Surface of the ground. It's now come back down, and you can continue to pursue it. Now with Denny's full speed, another 20, 30, a few hundred feet progress, right, as you're moving. And it seems that you're moving fast enough now where the light is no longer gaining on you, but you are not gaining on it.
Really? So even with Denny's max speed, we're not catching up.
Correct. It does appear that you're both now moving at approximately the same speed.
Yeah, I don't know. We're certainly moving faster than we were before, but
What kind of magic do you have left? Let's get us there.
we're not gaining on it.
Now there's like closer to like 6, 7, 8 miles of distance here. Again, this is like a pinprick of blue against the black of the night, right? And at this point, you've probably been flying for an hour or two, and have made progress of 10 to 12 miles yourself here at Denny's, with Denny's additional speed after doffing Mia's armor. You can choose to just continue, like, if you no longer want to go to the tower, which you are now about 3 miles south of. You've made, you basically cut across the progress from the slope of that peak almost between the tower and the city itself as you've pursued this light. So if you want to, continue to chase the blue light, obviously you don't know how long it may or you may need to travel, but it's clear that it is going in the direction of Zexa, in this southeastern direction from where you are.
Okay, so it's kind of traveling toward where we had intended to go anyway.
That is correct.
Falzern, what do you think? Do they need our help at the tower, like we turn around? We're going the right direction for the cave, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. We also just sort of left Alamar on his own.
Right. I mean, you brought him back from the dead. That's good enough, right?
I don't know.
Listen, Shakara's response said that they'd meet us at the caves. Like, maybe... I don't know what would be flying, but maybe that is the eyes we're seeing.
I don't know how... If that's Shakara, how could she be traveling that fast and also above the ground? Doesn't make sense.
I don't know, but that blue is unmistakable, like...
I don't know, Mia. Part of me thinks, yes, Alamar, he's lived many years, he's wise, he'll be able to look after himself, but he's also a Zelwick, and we know that the Zelwick line plays some part in this whole armor of Kalar. He might be useful. And also, we're not gaining on this thing. If it keeps going at this pace, we're never going to catch it. Our best hope is that it eventually stops, but it may... who knows where it's going.
I mean, I do get we can't go on forever. Unless Alamar knows where the scythe is, like, what kind of good is he gonna do? Ugh.
Well, I don't know, but he may know more than we know, and if we come across something that could relate to how this armor works, how the eyes work, he may know a missing piece of information that we don't have. I feel like pursuing this is a little bit risky, and I think it would be smart for us to keep Alamar with us.
Here, give me your bag of holding back and just turn around. I start, like, reaching my arm in for my armor.
So Falzarin will sort of pull on Denny to get him to whoa, slow down, and then gently kind of turn him around and start heading back towards where we left Alamar.
I'll put my armor on when I know we're, like, getting 10 minutes away so that it's on in time, but not slowing us down any more than it needs to, if that makes sense.
Okay, so then you kind of backtrack another hour here, and then, like, you can see basically the torchlight kind of on the flat, open, deserty terrain here out of, east of the Vorgrag Mountains, of, like, the paladins moving towards the tower, right? And then obviously the lights set up at the tower itself. And it seems that the time you've spent kind of chasing this pulsing blue light, the surviving paladins from the Neogi fight have made it to the tower. Now, though, you've witnessed, like, there's no longer any airship activity of the evacuation, and the lava flow is clearly visible now. It's progressed to the base of the mountains and is now, like, within 5 miles of the northmost wall of the Trukal.
Oh my! This is moving far more quickly than I expected. We need to find Alamar.
I mean, we were gone a while. I'm sure the paladins have a plan. Let's go see what they're up to.
So you're able to basically find the tail end of even, like, if there's paladins, and obviously it's kind of a mix of, like, clearly, like, Dracolians and then paladins, like, from the city that have now seen, the lights and where the airships have been going to and from Drakal to the tower. And that's essentially where you're following this trail of survivors or refugees almost from the city. There looks like there's, like, a sizable number of people here, and the tower itself is quite far east from the mountains. I mean, at least from the three peaks that erupted anyways, the 3 main peaks, as they are more northwestern into the range itself. So it appears that the route in which the lava flow is taken, the tower itself and the immediate, mile 2 or 2 mile radius around it does appear to be safe for now from the flow. So unless something drastic changes, this area is considered to be safe ground.
Falzarin, I get why you want to see Almar, but I'm more worried about Samuel and what the plan is. Like, let's go talk to the generals first.
Yeah, no, I'm not necessarily needing to find Alamar immediately. I just wanted to make sure that he was safe. But he should have made it to the tower, and it looks like the tower is safe for the time being. So yes, I agree. Let's see if we can find out more about what's going on with Samuel.
Flying over the heads of the survivors, you do see that in the evacuation of the new front line, there were a few, maybe a small handful of kind of the canvas tents that have been pulled down and deconstructed hastily, and now to be put back up here, which, the majority of them are serving as like this triage center for the wounded. They're kind of clustered around the tower itself. So within the tower, its doors kind of, you see actually its door has been smashed in from something. Around the tower itself, there's still like some constructs from Tinderman's constructs. The oaken bolters are still kind of suction cupped to the side of it and surrounding it as like this kind of overwatch. Falzarin! Miss Brightwood! And Thuftamar kind of comes scurrying out of a crowd near the tower. They won't let me examine the armor.
Oh no! Are they keeping a very tight perimeter on Samuel?
The generals are making their own assumptions or examinations. I simply wanted to look.
We'll get you in. Just
Yeah.
give us a minute here. Where are they? Point us where to go.
And yeah, he does kind of motion like they're inside the base of the tower. As you approach, like there's still the pulsing blue being emitted from Samuel. So you're kind of were drawn to this as you flew in, right? It's very clear this where Samuel is.
Mia knows you have to be attuned to this cube, but it's like I have a slot now that the shackles aren't attuned. I'll just put the cube in my hand to see if it helps me in any way when we go in there. You coming with me, Falzarin?
Yes. I think we need to try and convince them to let Almar take a look. He might know something that we're missing.
Do you think it'll take long, Alamar?
I don't know what I'm looking for, Miss Brightwood. I'm only wondering if we are to retrieve the eyes, yes?
I would love to. Shakara took them.
Allegedly.
Yes, to be proven. There's been a lot going on. Alamar, here, and I chuck him the cube.
Oh, what is this?
Spend a little time getting to know it. See if it'll help you at all. It should protect you from any effects of the blue light, like the towers did. They needed these to protect them.
I mean, he can take an hour to attune if that's what you want him to do.
He can start while we go try to talk. I think I should leave it up to him whether he feels like it's worth risking or not, but it's worth starting the process, I guess.
Falzarin's also going to go in, even though he doesn't have any protection from a cube.
And as you enter, his personal guard are still there, and, the first reaction, of course, is Killikay kind of steps in front of the door to halt whoever these, these new people coming in, and then, of course, sees that it's the two of you, and we'll just kind of let you walk in, kind of signal to the generals. And in the base of this tower, to keep everybody safe, it seems they've made this almost, it's basically like a suspended hammock where they have Samuel laying as comfortable as they can make him, at least 20 feet above the ground, just so everybody's out of the effect of his armor.
And any change to his condition or the way he looks, or does he just basically look the same as last time we saw him?
It appears that there's been no change.
Hey, Killa, or Kay, guys, that little goblin out there, he's really a powerful wizard from Heraklion. Long story, part of the Zelwick line, descendants that Dendar, and there's a history with the armor. Can we have him come take a look, please? I'll vouch for him.
His ancestors were a part of the history of this armor. I wonder if he may be able to see something that all of us are missing. I think it's worth a shot to let him come take a look.
Killikay kind of looks past the two of you, right, to this little goblin, and then just waves Thufnamar in. And you see the generals are the three of them are conferring with each other, and it seems like mostly it's Ventrere that's doing the majority of the talking, and she's just predominantly speaking about what exactly to do with Samuel now. Stellis is more of the opinion of like, look, we need to take action with the troops. We need to either put someone, in charge for the interim, or like move back down to Samuel's keep kind of thing. Like, win or lose, the fight is over, is essentially the conversation that's going on.
Win and lose, sort of. Like,
right.
A little bit of both.
All right, so Falzarin will sort of interject. Maybe it's not my place, but I think it would be beneficial for the forces to stay around here and help with any of the aftermath that may yet to happen. It's possible that there are still enemies, still Neogi, that weren't able to escape with the rest of them and also weren't killed. And also just helping this Drukal is potentially going to be chaos over the next several days. I think having the soldiers here, it could be beneficial.
Ventrier, responds, I agree. We should remain here until we can revive Samuel and get the orders from our general.
Well, Alamar, what do you think? Here he is. This is how he's been for some time now. He's not getting any better. He's not getting any worse. He's just stuck in this sort of state of suspended being.
Well, let me take a look, Aldrin. And he'll kind of climb. There's kind of a ladder up to be able to reach Samuel. As he climbs, he's subjected to the blue light, so he does have to make a Constitution saving throw. It is a DC 18, as the cube, not being attuned to it, is not aiding in that. Wow, I rolled an 18 on the die, so he definitely just passes. So he avoids that level of exhaustion. But again, as he's climbing, he almost falters mid-rung as he enters the blue light and kind of shakes it off. And he's tentatively probing pieces of the armor. And you see he's actually paying particular attention to the sections, the scaled section, the blue parts that kind of, as you watched it being put together and assembled, that had formed and connected, all where the joints would be, all this interconnected pieces to the gauntlets and the chest plate, the helm and the boots. He, takes about 5 minutes or so, climbs back down. There's nothing I can do. And he kind of
sure?
exits the tower.
I chase after him. What do you mean? Did you see something wrong? Why are you leaving so suddenly?
I'm powerless here, Miss Brightwood.
What do you mean?
My Zelwick blood, it seems, clearly no longer flows through this form.
What would Zelwick blood be able to do?
Play my line's part in all of this. I'm not sure that I can do that anymore.
So you physically need blood to do this?
Zelwick blood, my lineage.
You got any cousins? Aunts, uncles?
I was the last of the Zelwicks.
No kids, maybe?
He just shakes his head.
What do you know of what's happening and what needs to be done? Can you give us any more information? Perhaps there's another way.
I have nothing, Falzarin. And he, again, continues exiting the tower.
It's so frustrating. He says it gotta be his bloodline, but then he doesn't say what his bloodline can do. Okay. Although the tower's safe, Falzarin, Shakara replied, they'll do their best to meet us at the cave. So, how long do we wait?
I was really hoping that Alamar might be able to do something for Samuel, but it doesn't. Without that being an option, I'm not really sure why we would wait here. I think our next best step is to meet with Shakar, and perhaps she does have one or more of the Eyes of Dendar, and maybe they are a missing piece of this puzzle.
It's gonna be a lot of telling stories and getting her to trust us, I guess. I don't know what to do. I know I'm exhausted. Do we wait? Do we keep... We gotta keep going, right?
I think the next best thing we can do is meet Shakara, and hopefully Shaft is with her.
She said we. Come on. Hold out hope.
Yes, I hope so. I do miss being with him, if I'm being honest. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Shakara is a missing piece of this puzzle.
What, do you think she has, like, Zelwick blood?
Well, no, she has some connection to Dendar, and we know that the eyes of Dendar has something to do with the armor. I don't know. I'm out of ideas, Mia. If Almar's not an option, I think Shakara is the next best.
Okay, just real quick, I want to assess the situation. Mia wants to go to the top of the tower and just, like, perceive all that's going on, ensure that it seems safe from the lava right now, sort of before leaving. You just want to get, like, a read on the situation from above.
As you ascend the 100-foot tower, this stairs, of course, encircles the inner perimeter of it, right, as you're moving up in this spiral. And you see that you've seen before, the number of, like, arcane symbols that have been carved into the stone. And when you get to the very top, you see that one has been, it's like as if someone has taken a weapon to it, has been slashed right through, and, like, the rock itself is, like, severing this sigil in half. But you get to the top, you see this, knocked over kind of tripod looking apparatus. It's like 3 legs that kind of meet at the top. The top of it is like this little, it's like a cup where something would rest or sit in. And you can peer westward. Still the glow, the red glow of the lava is like, it's like almost as if it's daytime. It's so bright. By now it's clear that it will overtake this entirety of Drukal. Like, for as far as you can see, this flow is enormous coming out of the mountains. But it does look like there's about a 4-mile distance or so you could roughly judge from, the outer perimeter of this tower to the flow itself and to the city. So for the time, again, it seems as if you are, like, you're east of the flow. You're far enough east of the flow that you're not in its path any longer.
I know it's dark out, but, like, can I see people fleeing towards the tower still? Or is it, like, pretty empty, field?
You can make a perception.
15.
It does seem the flow of people like you had witnessed as you were flying in on Denny, it's still happening, but it seems like it's kind of slowing down to more of a trickle. Maybe to use your analogy, Lenny, you're seeing the last pops of the kernel.
Right,
Yeah, exactly.
I knew that was gonna come back. Okay. Can I examine this tripod thing? Like, would Mia know what was in the cup, or what was going on with that?
Yeah, you can give me you can roll me a history, actually.
Falzarin, get up here. I need you. I got a 16 for the tripod history.
I believe you and Shakara saw a sketch of this in Tinnerman's workshop on Heraklion. And it was kind of one of the numerous sketches in amidst the drawings of some of his constructs, like it's his, Tinnerman's toy soldiers, and of course the iron cobras, etc., that you kind of found in his shop.
Okay, so some sort of mechanism. I'm gonna look at the rune.
Falzern will also take a closer look at this rune.
Sure, Falzern, why don't you give me a history as well?
Wasn't really a battle in the tower at any point, so this is strange. Can I tell if it was a sword versus an axe or things like that? The slash?
You can give me an investigation.
26.
Okay, so Falzern, you recall pretty distinctly a conversation that you and Dreg had at the base of this tower before the rest of the Paladin forces, and before it had even become a front line, but back when you had helped Silas defend it against an onslaught of Neogi and Chimera, etc. Dreg had spoken of this being kind of a bastardization of a similar kind of set of arcane sigils that he used on the safety shell. That it was this to amplify the effects of something. And that's similar, like all of the same symbols are kind of inside of this tower the whole way down, right? It's all the same, or slight variations of that symbol. Mia, what was your investigation?
19.
Clearly, it's done by some type of slashing weapon. Yeah, you're just kind of looking at the width of the slashes, and it's more of less of a sword length, but more maybe of something with like a curve to the blade of it.
I mean, Falzer, and this was intentional, right? No, there was no like battle up here at the top of the tower.
Oh, I can't say for certain, but
Would slashing it, like ruin it?
Roll me an Arcana.
wow, this die is on fire tonight. It's a nat 20 for 27.
It's very clear to Falzern that the intent of this was to disrupt the power of the rune itself. Bisecting this symbol of power essentially made it inactive or ineffective or broke this continuity of the sigil itself to disrupt whatever its purpose is.
And does this rune in particular seem like there's any significance to this particular rune, or is it just like it was one that was picked out that, you know what I mean, that would interrupt things? Like, is it like a central rune that seems to have more significance than the others?
I'd say probably the only real significance to it is, again, they're all like near identical. The only significance is it's the last one before you exit to the top, very top of the tower.
The closest to the exit.
Yeah,
Okay.
the closest to the top.
Okay.
Something curved slashed at this. This is... does the tower need it now, though? I don't know.
My assumption would, by the looks of it, I think whoever did this was attempting to sabotage the tower's power, its effects. It's hard to say for sure, but it sort of seems that way. This lava is not looking good. Drukal
No.
is in danger.
I just really hope they got out of there in time. This is not great, but unless you want to rest here tonight, we gotta get to the cave. We gotta get back together with them. I feel like there's information we're missing.
I don't think there's much that we can do here to help Drukal.
At the very least, that's where Shakara will be, and maybe the eyes can do something to help Samuel. These paladins are lost without him, eh? They don't want to follow anyone else's orders.
Yes, well, he is their general, I suppose? What is Samuel's title?
You've heard probably numerous paladins refer to him as like a commander or a general.
Commander-in-chief.
Or a
Yeah,
chief,
yeah.
exactly. Like, it doesn't seem like he's never introduced or spoken of himself as having a specific title or anything like that. So it seems like it's more like colloquial terms used amongst the paladins themselves. Maybe, a certain number of them may use the word commander or whatever, but no specific title.
I'll shoot it to you straight, Falzarin. I feel like there's been a win with the Neogi. I feel like I've done what I wanted to do, but there's so many of them left. There's so many repercussions to deal with. Samuel's the first priority. Just sort that out. And then secondly, I want to go home. I need to make sure my family's safe. So the sooner we meet up with them and get the eyes and figure this out, the better.
I certainly can understand you feeling that way, Mia. I think that's very fair. I agree. I'm like you, also tired, but I'm certainly able to keep pushing forward and traveling to try and make it to meet Shakara and Shaft, if you'd like to do that.
Like, how long ago is our last rest? Are we going to be exhausting ourselves to get there?
So you've probably got about another 6 or so hours where you would have to make a Constitution saving throw because you've been awake for more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
It is only a DC 10.
My gut's telling me to just push through it, Falzarin, but I know it's probably safest to rest here instead of the middle of the wild.
Yes, it probably is.
So you're about 35-ish miles or so, which at a fast pace you can cover almost the entire distance in 8 hours.
Do I know if there's any horses around the tower that we could take?
You haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Well, Mia, I'm willing to push myself. I know that we both need the rest, but I think this is pressing. Who knows what another 24 hours might do to Samuel if he remains in this state.
And just us, right? We don't need Alamar.
I don't know. think he may know things or may recognize things that we might not piece together. I don't know. I think he may be valuable.
Okay, alright. He's your responsibility.
Well, I think he can more or less look after himself, but sure, if you insist. I'm gonna go find him and see if I can convince him to come along. And Falzarin will start to descend down the tower and head out to find where Almar walked off to.
I'll follow. I don't know anything about runes or trying to mess with it right now, so...
Well, Mia, are you going to want to bring Braun with you? You know, Braun has been, aiding with some of the triage center and just accepting people in and doing what he can to help those that are the injured from the fight or injured from fleeing the city, etc. So that's kind of what he's been doing.
I'll go try to find him. And if I find him, I would ask him, Braun, do you want to come with Falzarin and I? We're gonna try to meet up with Shakara and Shaft. We need to sort out if she has the eyes and if we can help Samuel, maybe. I know you're being useful here, though, so it's up to you.
And you see this this glow being emitted from his hands as he's magically stitching up wounds of again, doing whatever he can. And he kind of gives this person a pat on the shoulder as they seem to rest a little easier after receiving some of his healing magic. Sister, what I really want to do is return to Barrick. He looks off towards the glow, right? The red-orange glow, which by the looks of it is going to take a little longer than it normally might. If I can convince some paladins to come with me to Barrick, perhaps we can do something for our home.
I mean, thankfully, Barrick's tucked behind the little lake there from the mountains, but travel's gonna be treacherous. Between Samuel and family, what do I do?
I don't mean to pull you from what you feel you have to do, sister. I've just, perhaps this is where we part.
For now, right?
Of course.
Just like a see you later, yeah. There's a few of us with the information I have about the armor, so I'll see you later. I will meet you back at home. Please take care of Mom and Dad.
I look forward to seeing them and being reunited with all of us.
I go up and give him a hug.
And of course he'll return the gesture.
A little zap with my my armor. Just for good luck. And I'll go find Falzarin.
Falzarin, you are able to find Thuftamar after, about 5 or so minutes of searching. And you find him off kind of on his own. He's got his stick that he had picked up, which was Thuff the Younger's stick that he pulled to use as his cane. And it seems like he's just kind of making circles in the dirt with it.
Almar, I can't help but notice you. Are you upset with your current situation, not in your own body?
Falzarin, I think you should have left me in that wall. I can do nothing in this form. I thought it would be great. A second chance, but how can I return to Heracleon like this?
Well, Almar, a wise man once told me not to judge a book by its cover, and I very much enjoy books. I think appearances are often overrated. You're still Almar. You still have your knowledge, your memories. You can do great things, regardless of the shape and form that you occupy.
I'm sorry, Falzarin, for the way I treated you on Heracleon all those years. I only saw potential in you. And I was incorrect in the ways I chose to foster it.
Almar, I think deep down, a part of me knew that all along. But But thank you for saying that.
I believe you can help our home more than I presently could.
Well, Alamar, perhaps there's a place for both of us to help rebuild Heraklion. I certainly would hope so. It's my home. It's the place that I love. As do you, I'm quite sure. But Alamar, I think we still have work to do before we get back there. And Mia and I would very much appreciate it if you would lend us your knowledge and your expertise. You may be of some use yet in solving this conundrum that we're in. We plan to go to meet Shakara, and I believe she's with Shaft. And I suspect she may have the eyes of Dendar. I don't know, but they may be the missing piece of this puzzle to figure out what's wrong with the arm of Kalar. And maybe you'll have some information, or you'll be able to... I don't know. I just feel like it would be good to have you along.
I appreciate your confidence in me, Falzarin. I will help you in whatever way that I can. If those eyes are used to summon Dendar without the functioning armor, I do not know how we could win against the Serpent Mother.
Yes, I agree. I think not just Heraklion, all of Aspara would be doomed. I think we must do anything we can to prevent that. I can't believe that is what Shakara's intent is, but I will admit I'm not quite sure what she's doing and what her plan is. But nonetheless, she's responded to us and said that she's going to meet us near Sexa, so I think that's where we need to go next.
He'll kind of urgently, he'll takes a hold of your hand in his little goblin mitts. If her intention is to release Dendar, Falzarin, you must stop her at all costs. Whatever it takes, you have to be willing to kill her if it comes to that.
Almar, it's not going to come to that. I don't think she wants to do that, and if for some reason she does, I can reason with her. Let's not think on these things right now. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Just be prepared for this outcome.
Falzarin sort of breaks eye contact and sort of looks away off into the distance for a moment. I will do what I have to do, Alamar. But it's not going to come to that.
And he releases your hand, and Mia joins the two of you.
Were you guys holding hands? Did I?
Only
No.
briefly.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was a handshake. We were making a deal.
Oh. For what?
It's tradition on Heraklion. When you agree to set off on a journey together, you shake hands first.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes.
Mia,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we should get off. I don't think we should waste any more time.
Braun's not coming with us, so...
What is his plan? What is he?
Braun's gonna help out here, but he's gonna go check on the family. I can't blame him. I'm torn myself, but I just can't think about it. Let's go. We're gonna go tonight?
I think we should. I think time is wasting it. As tired as I am, I say we push on. Alamar, are you ready?
Yes. And he has, retrieved his cane, has kind of a firm grip on it. Let's go.
Ah, that's a good stick.
It is a very good stick.
I called it. I knew it. Duff loved that stick.
That's it. End of the show. Thanks for listening. But before you go, I got a couple other things I want to tell you about. You can find the Incorrigible Party all over the interwebs. You can just go to incorrigibleparty.com and you can find all the links there. While you're there, check out the Patreon. There's some really cool stuff you could do with the Patreon, like give inspiration to Shaft. Or you can waste it and give it to one of those other mooks. Even worse, you could give it to Leland. Also, you can get access to mini campaigns and other cool stuff that we do. You're automatically entered into all contests. I mean, it's really a great deal. The Incorrigible Party is sponsored by Critical Hit Design. All ambient sounds and music provided by tabletopaudio.com. Intro and outro music is by Josh Jarvis, and you can email him at jamesmercymusic@gmail.com if you need any music stuff. Okay, that's it. Now you can go. Happy adventuring!
This has been a Sounds of Steel production.